The shell struck the steel plate with the force of a freight train, a deafening clang that rang inside the enemy hull like a church bell. Sparks showered the tall grass. Smoke cleared slowly in the humid air. And then, nothing happened. The monster didn't burn. It didn't explode. It didn't even stop moving. Slowly, terrifyingly slowly, the massive turret began to rotate. The long black barrel of the 88mm gun swung around, looking for the source of the annoyance. It was looking for us. If you want to uncover the true, unfiltered history of the machines and men who fought for every inch of ground, take a brief second to subscribe to the channel right now. It was July 1944. The bocage country of Normandy. A green hell of ancient hedgerows, sunken lanes, and blind corners where death waited behind every bush. The Allies had the numbers. They had the air superiority. But on the ground, in the claustrophobic lanes of France, the Germans had something else. They had a ghost, a machine that had already become a legend whispered in trembling voices from North Africa to the Eastern Front. The Tiger. Inside the cramped, sweltering hull of our Sherman tank, the air was thick enough to chew. It smelled of gasoline, stale sweat, and the sharp, metallic tang of fear. My name is Sergeant Frank Miller. At least that's who I was back then. Just a kid from Ohio trying to keep 4 other men alive inside 30 tons of American steel. But compared to what was waiting for us out there, we might as well have been driving a tin can. The engine roared beneath us, a constant vibrating presence that rattled your teeth. Through the periscope, the world was a grainy, bouncing strip of green and brown. Visibility was less than 50 yards. The hedgerows were so high they blocked the sun, turning the sunken road into a tunnel. "Driver, halt," I said. My voice sounded tinny through the throat mic. The tank lurched to a stop. The silence that followed was heavy. You could hear the distant pop of small arms fire miles away, but here, in this lane, it was quiet. Too quiet. "I don't like this, Sarge," said Kowalski, our driver. His voice was tight. "It feels like a trap." "Keep your eyes on the tree line," I replied. "Just drive." We inched forward. The tracks squealed against the dirt. Every shadow looked like a gun barrel. We knew they were out there. We had heard the rumors since we landed on the beach. Tales of a tank so thick that our shells bounced off its front armor like pebbles. A tank with a gun that could slice through a Sherman from a mile away. A diary entry from a corporal in the 2nd Armored Division, found weeks later, described the feeling perfectly. You don't hunt the tiger. The tiger hunts you. We move in packs, 5 or 6 of us, just to distract it. We draw straws to see who dies first, so the others might get a shot at its rear. That is not war. That is sacrifice. Then the ground shuddered. It wasn't an explosion. It was a vibration, deep and rhythmic, coming from the earth itself. The birds in the hedgerow to our left suddenly took flight, a chaotic burst of feathers. "Contact left," the gunner screamed. The hedgerow exploded, not from a shell, but from the sheer weight of the machine crushing through it. The vegetation snapped like dry twigs. Through the falling leaves and dust, it emerged. It was boxy, angular, and massive. The gray paint was scarred, but the black cross on the side was pristine. It was a tiger eye, and it was less than 200 yards away. "Gunner, traverse left! AP shell, fire!" I yelled. "Traversing!" The turret motor whined as we spun to face the threat. The tiger was still turning, its wide tracks churning the mud. It seemed impossibly slow, yet terrifyingly inevitable. "Fire!" Our 75mm gun barked. The tank rocked back on its suspension. I watched through the optics, praying for a fireball. The tracer slammed into the flat, vertical plate of the Tiger's front hull. Clang! The shell ricocheted straight up into the sky, leaving nothing but a gray smudge on the German steel. "We didn't even scratch him," the loader screamed, panic rising in his voice. "It just bounced off." "Load again. Give me another AP." But the Tiger had stopped turning. Its chassis was angled, but that long, terrifying barrel was now pointing directly at us. The muzzle brake looked like the eye of a storm. "Reverse! Kowalski, get us out of here!" "I can't. The gear is stuck." "Fix it." "Move!" A flash of light erupted from the Tiger's muzzle. The sound arrived a split second later. A crack so loud it felt like a physical blow to the chest. The shell missed our turret by inches, the sonic boom shattering the glass in my periscope block. The air inside our tank instantly filled with the acrid stench of ozone and cordite. We were dead. We were stationary, exposed, and facing a predator we couldn't hurt. The Tiger's loader was already shoving another 88mm shell into the breach. We had maybe 6 seconds. I looked at the map, then at the terrain. The Tiger was heavy. Sluggish. It was built for open steppes, not these tight corners. "Forget reverse," I yelled, grabbing the commander's override. "Kowalski, hard left, floor it. We're going through the hedge." "Are you crazy, Sarge? Do it, or we die. Go!" The Sherman engine screamed as Kowalski stomped on the accelerator. We lurched forward, not away from the Tiger, but parallel to it, smashing into the dense wall of roots and earth on our left. The tank bucked violently. Branches whipped against the hull. For a second, we were blind, buried in dirt and vegetation. Another deafening crack from the Tiger. The shell tore through the space where we had been half a second ago, exploding against the far bank. We burst through the hedgerow into the adjacent field. We were now on the other side of the greenery, separated from the Tiger by a thick wall of bushes. We were alive. For now. "He can't see us," I whispered, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. "He has to turn the whole tank to track us. His turret is slow." I checked the periscope. Through the gaps in the leaves, I could see the exhaust smoke of the German monster. It was trying to pivot, its engine straining under the 57 tons of weight. "We have to get behind him," I said. "It's the only way. The armor is thinner in the rear." "That puts us 10 yards from him," the gunner said. His hands were shaking on the controls. "If we miss, we won't miss. Kowalski, flank him, fast. Don't stop until I say." We roared across the field. The Tiger was on the other side of the hedge, moving parallel to us now, trying to bring its gun to bear. It was a race. Speed against armor, David against Goliath. The Sherman was faster, lighter. We drifted around the edge of the hedgerow, mud spraying from our tracks in a high arc. And then, we cleared the brush. We drifted into the open lane, directly behind the Tiger. It was close, so close I could see the rust on the spare track links bolted to the back of its turret. The exhaust pipes were glowing red hot. The massive machine was still turning, trying to face us, but it was too late. The turret was too slow. "Target rear, range point blank," I screamed. "Fire!" The gunner didn't hesitate. The cannon fired. This time there was no ricochet. The shell slammed into the engine compartment at the rear of the Tiger. There was a dull thud, followed by a high-pitched hissing sound. For a heartbeat, silence. Then, a column of white flame erupted from the Tiger's engine deck. It shot 20 feet into the air, followed by black, oily smoke. The hatch on the German turret flew open. Men scrambled out, uniforms smoking, diving into the ditch. "Cease fire," I said. My voice was trembling. "Cease fire." We sat there, engine idling, watching the beast burn. The ammunition inside the Tiger began to cook off, popping and banging like fireworks. It was a magnificent, terrifying sight. I pulled out my logbook later that night, my hands still covered in grease. I wrote, "We killed one today, but my hands won't stop shaking. I know there are more of them, and next time we might not be faster." We survived that day, but the fear never left us. Every time we saw a shape in the distance, every time a shadow moved in the trees, we froze. We weren't afraid of the German soldiers. We were afraid of the shape, the silhouette. According to official U.S. Army reports after the war, the statistical dominance of the Tiger was often exaggerated. There weren't actually that many of them in Normandy. Mechanical reliability was poor. They ran out of fuel constantly. But facts didn't matter to the men on the ground. The psychological impact was devastating. Known as tiger phobia, it was a recognized condition among Allied crews. If a radio report mentioned a tiger in the sector, advances would stall. Men would hesitate. The mere rumor of this tank was enough to stop an army. It took 5 Shermans to knock out one tiger. That was the math we lived by. That was the math we died by. War creates heroes, usually out of necessity, but it also creates monsters that haunt your sleep long after the guns go silent. The Tiger was one of them. A machine built not just to kill, but to terrify. If you want more forgotten stories of real people who lived through the hell of World War II, make sure to subscribe. This channel exists to bring their voices back. The metal rusts. The tanks end up in museums. But the fear those men felt in the shadow of the Tiger, that never truly fades away.